next guest is Bailey Ludlam. Bailey is the editor of Ballotpedia. I would suggest to you that in your travels around the internet, particularly your daily travels, if you only have one spot or one time to get on the internet and focus on the political world, the place you want to be is Ballotpedia. Bailey, welcome. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
Good. You're the editor of Ballotpedia.
Yes.
Which means you know everything about Ballotpedia, correct?
Yes, I know the ins and outs. I've seen it grow over the years.
How long have you been with Ballotpedia?
I've been with Ballotpedia since 2009, and I actually started as a staff writer writing about ballot measures on the site.
And now you're the editor. What does it mean to be the editor of Ballotpedia?
Oh, well, it certainly, it means launching new areas of coverage, looking for new ideas, and just new opportunities for us to expand and cover politics and elections in the United States.
Well, I already told the viewers that this is an amazing site. One of the things I like about the site is when you go there, it says, an interactive almanac of U.S. politics. I love that word almanac. What does it mean for Ballotpedia to be an interactive almanac?
Yeah, I absolutely love that about the site. So the platform that we use is a wiki platform. A lot of people are familiar with Wikipedia. It's pretty similar to that in the sense that readers can sign up on the site and they can start adding content immediately. It's very easy. You register, you get your username, and you can start adding content anywhere on the website. We do have some volunteer projects. And we certainly do look at all of the edits and contributions made, and we try to connect with our writers and talk about new ideas as well as just editing and style. As far as the almanac portion goes, it's another feature of the wiki in that we can add content and cover issues at any point throughout the year whenever anything comes up. So we might have a profile that we've started about the laws governing ballot measures, for example, and an event might occur that changes that, and so we can go back in and adjust it. It essentially helps us really aggregate a lot of information and turns into some really interesting reports. We're able to spot trends throughout the years.
Now, I know the site was the brainchild of Leslie Graves. I've had the pleasure of meeting Leslie. She's an amazing lady. What can you tell us about how it all got started, and what was the initial impetus for having a site that would educate the population of the United States on everything political?
So it started off from, I mentioned ballot measures, and that's actually where the name Ballotpedia came from, the ballot measures on the ballot. And the whole concept there was that we noticed that ballot measures were not being covered very well across the media. The ones that you hear about are the notable ones, the social ones, those hot topic issues such as legalizing marijuana across, in various different states. And so we wanted to create a location where readers could come and find out about all of the measures that appear on the ballot so that when they go to vote, they aren't surprised about what's appearing there and they know exactly what's going on. That includes, we started diving into who the support and opposition are, what are the polls, how much money is going into these campaigns, and in some cases, that's millions of dollars. So we found a whole just breadth of knowledge that we wanted to share with everybody and put it on one site, just a one-stop shop. And that ended up transforming into doing the same coverage and more for all levels of government, federal, state, and local.
Yeah, one of the things I think is really good about your site is most political sites are slanted in one direction, conservative, liberal, whichever. But yours attempts to maintain a neutrality. How do you achieve that neutrality? How do you make sure you're always presenting the facts, in a neutral, unbiased way?
It's a very important part of what we do. We are constantly, whenever we write a piece, if there's any questions or doubts or anything like that, we generally have a number of other writers or editors take a look at it, double check it for any bias at all. But our main focus is to make sure that we are being balanced or bringing both sides of the table to our readers. right there in one place. So we also make sure that when we're looking for information, our sources are varied across different types of websites, different types of media outlets, things like that. But also our public or the readers can flag pages. They can flag pages on the wiki and let us know if they think that something's biased, or send us an email and we'll take a look at it. We'll ask for outside input in order to make it as balanced as possible.
Does that happen very often? Do you, in fact, get input from people and then make changes?
We do get a number of emails. I think this year we got upwards of 600 emails from readers asking for either additional links or more information. We've received candidate bios. They submit their profiles to us, and we fact check everything before we put it on the wiki.
So, as you mentioned, it originally started around ballot initiatives, and now you've grown. So maybe could you explain a bit all the different stops along your site that someone can go to and the different types of information you're providing today?
Oh, certainly. So on the front page of the website, you'll see different little buttons on the center of the site. You'll see a section for elections themselves, which essentially the main focus of that is to aggregate all of the election information that we're providing on the website in one place, broken out by state. So that's a pretty useful place to go before the November elections. After that, we have Congress, which is your place to go for congressional information. Because of all of the activity this year with Congress, we've also started covering the federal issues, such as government or presidential appointments and other issues such as the government shutdown. We're covering those as well. Then we also dive into your state executive offices. So that includes governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, secretary of state, those typical ones, but also we dive down into the public commissioners. So we look at the agencies and the different departments, and that includes coverage of not only the offices, but also the officials in office and the elections associated with them.
And then with each election, you're also posting who the different candidates are and all the parties that are represented?
Yes. As soon as a filing deadline happens, we collect the list of candidates and we've put up profiles for every single candidate that's running for office. We follow them all the way through the election. So if there are any that drop off, whether they missed a deadline, they didn't get enough campaign funds, whatever it is, we keep a really, really close eye on that to make sure that the website is as up to date as possible. And we will make a note of that on the profiles.
So are you seeing a lot of traffic on your site as you get close to elections of people wanting to get educated on candidates and issues?
Yes, definitely. There is often the way that the traffic goes is that there's a big spike in October. In the maybe 2 weeks prior to the election, there's a lot of people rushing to find out about what's going to appear on their ballot, who's running, what kind of issues are there. We also see spikes throughout the year for the primaries. They're much smaller, but they're there. Yeah.
So what are some of your next projects? Where are you taking your site in terms of new ideas and new concepts?
Well, it's actually a very exciting time for us at Ballotpedia. Mostly we had a lot of coverage in terms of federal, state, and state level items. One area that we're diving into more so is the local government. And so this year we launched a new project. It's a school board elections project, which covers the top 1,000 school districts by population. And so we have profiles on all of those districts. We're covering all of those elections every year, and we're keeping track of that. So that joins our local ballot measure coverage in terms of that area. But also, I mentioned earlier that we started covering federal issues in our Congress project. So that's another area that we're trying to provide better coverage for our readers and just stay on top of.
Well, I know Tip O'Neill used to say all politics is local. So I think the fact that you're drilling down to these Board of Education elections is very important. And I know for a lot of people that run for office, it's pretty much their training ground. They get started at the local Board of Election, and then they work their way up through the political system.
Yeah, definitely. That's actually something that we're looking at is because of the nature of the wiki and because we are able to just look at all these candidate lists and even just follow officials' career history, we're able to see them jump from position to position and kind of follow that their growth and their just careers over time.
So when you go on the site, and again, there's a little video of Leslie Graves, she's talking about the site. She says there's 507,000 elected officials in the United States. That's a staggering figure. Do you cover all of them or most of them?
Most of them. We are aiming to get to that point. Our goal of success is to cover all 500,000 or so. I think there might be a little bit more than that on the website and cover the candidates, the incumbents, and the elections themselves.
So how do you measure success? When you get to the end of a year, how do you know if Ballotpedia has had a good year?
We know from if our goal at Ballotpedia is to provide information prior to the elections. We want to have profiles of all of these candidates and incumbents ready to go by the time that voters are headed to the ballot box, and even earlier than that. And that's for the primaries, not just the general election. Also, if we are able to cover, so for example, any ballot measures that come up, we want to be able to tell you the ins and outs, essentially give you the scorecard of what's going on with that ballot measure. Another one of our goals, which is it's a long-term goal, is to be able to build a database where you're able to see trends over time, which provides you more context for the current elections.
And I know you're becoming an important resource for the press. I know Wall Street Journal, New York Times, a lot of the more important press sources are reaching out to you for data and information.
Yes, we've gotten a number of requests for information. It's sometimes just finding out how much money has been contributed to a ballot measure campaign, or just getting an update on a particular issue that's going on. But also, we've been doing much more analysis because of the wealth of information that we're able to add onto the wiki and keep their archive. So that's been pretty useful for them.
So Bailey, in our remaining time, what I'd like you to do is, can you maybe explain in your own words, if I'm a brand new user, I haven't been on Ballotpedia before, how do we find you? Once we get there, what's the best way to experience Ballotpedia? And particularly, how do we then move to that next level, at the wiki level, where we start communicating with you and helping you improve your product?
Oh, sure. So what you want to do is you want to go to www.ballotpedia.org. There are a number of avenues that you can take once you're there. The ones that I suggest are to head to, once you're on the front page, you'll see a big map of the United States. Click on your state, and it will take you to a portal where you'll see everything that we have about that particular state. So we'll show you Congress, state executives, state legislatures, ballot measures associated with that state. And there are links in there not just for the current information, so a current election, but there's also some other links to the laws to run for office, the laws related to ballot measures. So that's probably the best place to start. And I definitely recommend, just clicking around and jumping from place to place. All of our pages have links that are kind of like breadcrumbs that take you to another piece of the puzzle. Another method that you can also take if you're more focused on just one particular area of government is from our front page, click on one of the side buttons for that particular area of government. So it might be state legislatures or Congress. You can also navigate the website through that way. As far as participating in the wiki, we're definitely looking for volunteers. If you're interested in volunteering to add it, you can email us at editor@ballotpedia.org. If you're just interested in sharing an idea, that's fine too, and we definitely welcome that. We try to respond within 24 hours. And that's that same address, editor@ballotpedia.org. And of course, if you're just interested in kind of, keeping track of what's going on with the website, or what is coming up in terms of political news, what just happened this week, we send out weekly email newsletters. And you can sign up by either visiting lucyburns.org or emailing us at editor@ballotpedia.org, and we'll get you signed up right away.
Well, Bailey, I have to tell you, you are a great ambassador for Ballotpedia. I've enjoyed the chance to chat with you today. And as I mentioned before, if you have any interest in politics, this is the one place you need to go to start your investigation. It may lead you in other directions, but checking Ballotpedia on some type of regular basis, particularly, as Bailey said, when we get close to the elections, this is going to be the best source that I'm aware of to keep you informed about the world of politics. Thanks again, Bailey.